Hello, everyone. My name is Krista Kolbinskie, and this psychological skills training program name is titled Improving Work Productivity, Teamwork, Leadership, and Communication Through Personality Tests for a Collegiate Volleyball Team. This was done for my sports psychology class with Dr. Epling at St. Thomas University. I chose volleyball because I was a volleyball student athlete for the University of Arkansas and St. Thomas University my graduate season, but this topic can be useful for any sport. And once we dive in deeper, you'll realize that it can be useful for any workplace, business, or team. So, my first slide is my summary slide, and my psychological skills training program, like I mentioned earlier, are all areas that we learned about throughout this course, teamwork, leadership, communication. I'm passionate about this topic because of the impact I have witnessed in collegiate volleyball teams when coaches and players take the time to understand each other's personalities and behaviors. So many times we lack an effective understanding of or communication with teammates or coaches because we don't take the time to understand those who differ from us in personality or behavior. So the DISC assessment is an assessment that has four different types of personality. The first one is dominance, like the picture is on the screen, stands for people who are direct, results oriented, firm, strong willed, and forceful. The influence type, which are people who are outgoing, enthusiastic, optimistic, high spirited, and lively. Conscientiousness, people who are analytical, reserved, precise, private, and systematic. And then steadiness, which is what I am, which are people who are patient, even tempered, accommodating, tactful, and humble. DISC assessment benefits include a leadership development, conflict management, team building, and communication. Leadership development, any great leader puts we before me, caring about others' progress and the success of others before their own. The DISC assessment is about relationships. Each personality profile seeks to show how we differ but can still work effectively together. There have been many teammates and coaches I differed from, and honestly, the teams that took the time and put in the effort to understand each other were the most successful. Um, I was on a lot of teams too that just so happened to all be, one similar or two similar personality types. And those were great. They were easy, but there are going to be moments and situations you're put in, environments you're put in, where you're going to differ from a lot of people, and you have to learn how to handle that. So, my personal experience and takeaways from the DISC assessment, hold close to me because I was given the opportunity, thankfully, to receive an NCAA graduate scholarship through the University of Arkansas. I applied for it and was able to use it at St. Thomas University. And through that scholarship, I was able to go to a career in sports forum at the NCAA headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we took the DISC assessment before arriving to the career in sports forum, which basically was a forum for 200 student athletes across the country who are interested in a career in sports, whether it be professional, collegiate, or youth sports. Um, and once we got the results back at the actual forum, we were divided into groups of who we were similar with, and I was an SI, so I was with a lot of mainly S people. And what I took away from the DISC assessment was I discovered more about myself and my teammates, my parents, my best friends. I mean, it was mind blowing how much I learned about myself and others. I understood others' priorities and how they differed from mine, how to react to certain personality types. And the most important takeaway that I had was how to increase my effectiveness with styles that are different from my own. I know I've been put into many situations where it's easy for me to be around people who are similar to me, but it's a little bit more challenging for me to deal and be around people who are not. So the history behind the DISC assessment, the DISC model of behavior was first proposed by William Moulton Marston, a physiological psychologist with a PhD from Harvard. His 1928 book Emotions of Normal People, explains his theory on how normal human emotions lead to behavioral differences among groups of people and how a person's behavior might change over time. He talks about behavioral differences, and it reminded me of when my behavior changed when I was among certain groups of people. A lot of times we're put into environments where we are around people who are similar to us, like I just mentioned, and it's easy, but sometimes you're on another volleyball team where, for me, a lot of players were the dominant type, and that made me kind of suppress my feelings and not really be myself. My behavior kind of changed because I was scared to really just show any type or to do or say anything that might cause conflict. My personality type, unfortunately, is the kind to avoid conflict. So, his work focused on directly observable and measurable psychological phenomena. He was interested in using practical explanations to help people understand and manage their experiences in relationships. And that's exactly what personality tests do. They help you understand and manage your experiences and your relationships, which overall will help the entire volleyball team come together as one. So, improving work productivity. There are 5 things that can really help with this. The first is to get rid of motivation killers. Motivation killers could be toxic teammates or coaches, abrasive personalities, lack of organizational vision, poor communication systems, absence of opportunities for personal development, and the feeling of lack of appreciation by teammates and coaches. Um, the second is to motivate through gamification. Players and coaches who lack motivation may not have the enthusiasm to complete challenging tasks. One effective way of motivating players is through the use of gamification techniques such as leaderboards or rankings, rewards, or challenges. For example, with the University of Arkansas, before almost every practice, we did doubles. We played doubles, which we would split the court in half, 2 girls versus another 2 girls. And basically, if you won, you moved up in the rankings. If you lost, you moved down, based on how many points you racked up by the end of each practice. And that was kind of a way that motivated us. It encouraged us, like we all wanted to be at the top of that leaderboard and that ranking list. So we worked that much harder to. It was just kind of a motivational deal to get us to really, really compete. The third is to set clear goals and provide feedback. Volleyball players will be more motivated if they know what they are expected to achieve. Accomplishments should be acknowledged, while errors or failures in meeting expectations should be addressed by the coaches. The fourth is to set standards and provide skills development. The head coach must define what they expect of everyone and how they are expected to perform their assigned tasks and responsibilities. Coaches should expect every player to seek challenges and to not want to be stagnant so they can progress throughout their college career. And the fifth is communicate effectively and efficiently. And for me, open and honest communication is key for a collegiate volleyball team because it leaves no room for confusion or assumptions. So the first the second is teamwork. And these authors, so teamwork is a dynamic process involving a collaborative effort by team members to effectively carry out the independent and interdependent behaviors that are required to maximize a team's likelihood of achieving its purposes. These authors present a model of teamwork in which its 2 main components are team maintenance, which refers to behaviors that function to keep the volleyball team together, and the regulation of team performance, which comprises behaviors devoted to the achievement of team goals. My favorite athlete has a quote that states, "Talent wins games, but teamwork wins championships." We often see talented teams perform poorly, failing to use the resources of their individual members, whereas other teams with less talent and fewer resources succeed. And it isn't necessarily the talent on a team that makes it great, but how that talent is blended. Team chemistry and relationships are important because volleyball teammates who love each other off the court will work that much harder on the court for each other. Leadership is this next slide. And by taking personality tests, collegiate volleyball players and coaches receive tangible steps directed at leading their team toward a desired outcome, understand how their tendencies influence their effectiveness in specific leadership situations, and to understand themselves better, the first step to becoming more effective when leading others. Personally, my favorite is the last point, because I believe that you really can't lead others or have other people follow you as a leader until you truly understand yourself. A common misconception states, there are two types of people, leaders and followers. But good leaders come in all personality types that translate into different leadership styles, which all have their own unique advantages. Personally, as a leader, I'm known as a supporter, providing a service for my teammates rather than a source of direction, seeking rapport with my team, and providing support where circumstances require it. My leadership styles are inclusive, which basically is, emphasizing bringing people together through collaboration. Humble is the second. I'm motivated to be reliable and stable and really, really take into consideration, the feelings of my teammates, and how they are and how they communicate. And affirming. I'm a positive, supportive, warm, and sincere person. And anyone who knows me, especially my teammates, know that. Um, the next is talking about communication and understanding the communication style of your volleyball teammates, coaches, and yourself is my uh, first bullet point, because when you do this, you become more receptive to the opinions of others and are not defensive or resistant. You feel like you can be openly honest, which creates a positive culture and environment. The second point is open, honest, and communication. And I think that being open and honest can lead to having better interpersonal relationships with your teammates and coaches. And this openness can involve talking about non-sport and personal life things, sharing your true feelings, not being afraid to just be vulnerable and be honest. So this book titled Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, How We Can Learn to Fulfill Our Potential, I had the opportunity to read at the University of Arkansas when we went through a coaching change. And the new coach that came to campus was very, very, his mind was geared towards changing the culture, changing it to a positive environment, a positive culture, and really just doing everything he could to help us succeed as a team. And the book talked about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. The growth mindset is the understanding that abilities and understanding can be developed. Fixed mindset is one that assumes abilities and understanding are relatively fixed. Once he kind of empowered us to understanding that we must have a growth mindset, we saw so much, team success and personal success, because it finally opened up our minds to the fact that we really can turn this thing around. We can change this thing. So I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. The conclusion, personality assessments such as the DISC assessment improve work productivity, teamwork, leadership, and communication for collegiate volleyball players and coaches. Taking the time and putting in the effort to understand yourself, your teammates, and your coaches can impact your team and the success of your team far more than anything else could. I learned the most about myself personally after I took various personality tests. They helped me understand why I react to certain situations and respond to certain people the way I do. They helped me realize why others are the way they are as well, and how to effectively communicate better with people opposite of or different than me. And it showed me my weaknesses and how I could be more effective in improving work productivity, teamwork, leadership, and communication. Personality test opened up my eyes to the fact that if I put in the time and effort, I can learn how to truly fulfill my potential. And this is my resources slide. Thank you for listening. I hope that you were able to take something away. Appreciate your time.